This is the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, sponsored by the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. If you're interested in the intersection of real estate, blockchain technology, AI, and more, you've come to the right place. Don't miss your opportunity to attend the Blockchain Real Estate Summit 2024, happening this September 24th through 26th, online for our worldwide audience. Get your tickets at blockchainrealestatesummit.com/registration. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blockchain Real Estate Summit podcast. I am Michael Flight, and I'm here with an excellent and outstanding special guest. He is what we like to call one of the OGs of real estate tokenization. They and his company Blocksquare, so it's Denis Petrovcic. And Denis and his company Blocksquare were some of the original people playing with real estate tokenization, and saw early on that real estate tokenization was going to be a big thing. And he knows all about crypto. He knows all about real estate tokenization, and he's one of the original guys doing real world assets. Not only that, but Denis not only founded Blocksquare in its Ljubljana, Slovenia, correct, Denis? Yes. I have problems with that one because, you know, when there's too many consonants in a name, I need to buy a vowel. So, but, and also Ocean Point, which is a really kick-ass liquidity protocol that at some point is going to be a major area where people are going to be trading real world assets. So with that in mind, Denis, why don't you just give us a little bit of biographical information and how and why you guys decided to start Blocksquare?
Michael, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for the amazing introduction. It has been a long time since we started Blocksquare and kind of dealing with transferring the value of a real estate asset on chain onto tokens. A lot of things have passed. I think one of the earliest memories goes back in 2016. I was running in Ljubljana in the afternoon, or maybe in the morning. I usually went for morning runs, and we were starting this blockchain lab. And at the same time, I made a first kind of investment into a real estate asset myself, that's outside of my primary home. And just during that run, I started thinking, is there anything to this real estate investment thing and blockchain and tokenization? And I brought that back to the office. We started talking, and basically then we started researching, on the real estate vertical where blockchain could apply. And this transfer of value going to tokens seemed very compelling because it opens up a lot of things that are otherwise not possible. On the entry side of an investment, it opens up access, which I think is one of the most important things when it comes to real estate as an asset class. On the exit side, it opens up something we call secondary markets. So the ability for not only for investors to exit through the primary sale or of the asset at, 5-10 years down the road, but to be able to exit to other investors and find liquidity through that process. And I'd say this thought kind of started formulating and taking shape into what Blocksquare is today.
Well, that is fantastic, and you put so much information into that, so I want to unpack some of it. First of all, I need to know what type of investment that you made when you bought your first real estate investment.
So Ljubljana is a special market, right? It's a small market. It definitely doesn't fall into what you call primary market. So the first investment that I made, it was into a house. There's a lot of houses that were built in the 50s, maybe 40s, that have been passed down to the next generation, and the new generations they want to live in a bit larger communities. So let's say multi-family homes. so multi-residential apartments and so forth, closer to the city center. So this houses, there's not enough, not many who are buying them, let's say. You can get a pretty good deal for it. And they are much larger, obviously, in size as such. On the other hand, you have 40,000 students coming into Ljubljana every year. And the students don't really have what you would call a modern campus. There's older ones that are pretty much filled up, and there's a shortage basically in the capacity. If you add up Airbnb to it,
Right.
and booking and tourism is taking up a lot of supply as well for that purpose. And so there was, a clear shortage of supply in this kind of 1-year lease contracts for students.
So
And that was my first investment. Yeah.
this is so cool that a technology guy, his first deal is an adaptive reuse to take single family housing and converting it into student housing. So that's really cool. So, and one of the things that is unique about you, and I have talked with probably most of the people that are in, well, I shouldn't say that anymore because there's like 15 of them popping up every month now, but in real estate tokenization or real world assets or anything like that. But the unique perspective that you really do bring to it is that you also understand what owning real estate is. And I can tell you from starting in 2017, 2018, and all the way through 2019, most of the people that we were initially dealing with were technology people, and they had no idea that it's like, well, this stuff isn't necessarily like a stock. Okay. Owning real estate, there's a lot more to it. There's, title issues, there's operational issues, there's, all kinds of things that it's not like owning a stock. It's not like owning an ICO. It's not like that because there are real estate literally encompasses most of the legal framework that is kind of out there in the world, in terms of contract law, in terms of title and all the rest of it. So why don't we get a little bit more into, because again, you're a real estate guy, you're a technology guy. So what does Blocksquare do?
All right. Well, Blocksquare essentially what it does, it can transfer the value of a single real estate asset onto Web3 through issuance of tokens. And that's basically its primary function is to achieve this. The why and what the outcome is out of this is that markets can become investment markets in specific real estate assets can be much more customizable for an investor, and on the other side, much more accessible and more liquid. And what Blocksquare does, we provide the infrastructure around this new emerging market so that any real estate professional who doesn't know anything about blockchain or tokenization can come to us and can basically use the whole suite of products to launch their own marketplace, like an online shop that deals with tokenized real estate and it addresses a specific market and addresses a global audience potentially.
So why don't we break this down? Because there's people that listen to this, and there's also people like me that are real estate people. And the reason why I went into real estate is because I failed in math, so I can't do technology. So, so I need to dumb it down as simple as possible. So let's take Blocksquare and a simple deal like your deal that you did. If somebody came in and were wanting to buy a property like that, you've got the developer or the sponsor, which is probably you at the time, correct? So, and the sponsor could come onto your platform. They could put the deal up there. You would set up the marketplace or the landing page for them to start raising capital. And how would other people invest in that? So how does that work?
So let's say that in the primary form, we see that real estate assets as such listed on a specific marketplace, on a specific, place where people can go create their account and invest in tokenized real estate, can be structured in two ways. So one way is that the marketplace operator kind of owns and operates the properties that they list, or that they can offer tokenization as a service to other property owners. So let's say these are two different business models. The first one is more like a fund, and the second one is more like an actual marketplace, a technology product. Now, on the other side, the investors can be of various sizes, and they can be co-invested in the same deal, no matter their preferences. They don't need to know each other. They will not require to communicate with each other, but they can basically invest independently into specific assets that the marketplace has listed.
Okay. And so your clients are mainly people that are, want to diversify their investor base by, getting people that are interested in investing in tokens. Is that primarily who your client is?
Primarily here, I would say we are a business to business provider of infrastructure. So let's say, just like you want to open up an e-commerce shop, you would probably not go and develop your own shop from scratch, but you would maybe use a vendor that's out there that allows you to achieve the same in a much shorter period of time. So for instance, for us,
So I just want to interrupt you because you just hit on that. So for people, and especially real estate people that, let's abstract all the tokenization and technology out of it. What you're kind of creating is the Shopify for real estate sponsors.
Exactly.
Yeah. So go on, because I interrupted you, but you're creating like a custom package for real estate sponsors to go out and start raising capital and do that. But I need you to explain it a lot more than I do. So I'll stop talking.
But here, you explained it correctly. And the reason why we shaped Blocksquare in such a way is because real estate is a local business, not necessarily from an investor perspective, especially if you look at investing in a real estate asset. I could invest in a real estate asset that you own in the US because I know, I see who you are, I know your business, I know how you do things. And if you tokenize it, you just create a much easier way for me to access that investment, right?
Right.
On the other side, for you to own and tokenize the asset, you do need to have that local expertise because that's your edge on the market. And you have it uniquely there in that specific city or country or region. And that's something that you exactly, or asset class, or a combination of those, right? Yeah. So we see that in the future, there's going to be thousands, if not tens of thousands, of these online shops that really know how to bring a specific asset class within real estate on chain, and they will find a niche user base that is interested in that type of investment, and they will come to them because they will be doing it much better than others. Because real estate is about accessing deals, getting a good deal over a bad one, right? It's negotiation. It's how you manage it, because that's ultimately the ROI for investors. Is if it's managed well, then there's much stronger lease contracts in place, etc. So this is all things that tie up together when it comes to you buying a token of a real estate asset. It's the underlying that's important. If you invest directly into real estate, you don't care about the owner because you're going to buy it from there. You don't care about the capital stack structure because you're going to finance it through your own partners, right? So you don't care about the current status. When you buy through a token, the current status is very important. And what we do at Blocksquare is we made sure that our infrastructure is able to bring that transparency to token holders.
But I want to argue with you a little bit on what you just said, because what the tokens can be, if somebody is going to go out, like I'm going to go back to your example, because that's an example that is probably one of the things that people complain about the most when they own real estate is, oh, I just went out and bought a house and then I'm renting it out to people, especially kids or students in school. And all I got now is toilet problems. All I got now is trash problems. All I got now is problems with the neighbors because the kids are, well, at least in the United States, they're drinking and doing other stuff. I don't know. I'm sure they're probably much better behaved in Slovenia. So, but anyway, the tokenization part of it is that somebody now, like I in the United States, could find a world-class operator that has student housing in, Slovenia, and I could invest and diversify my portfolio, and it's passive income. I don't have to do anything. That guy or that girl or that company does all the management for me. So I can get like extreme diversification because I'm not only like here stuck in Chicago with high real estate taxes and high crime and them trying to drive people out of the state. I can go and like invest where people want me.
Exactly. That's exactly, well phrased. And that's the beauty of tokenization, is going to create vested followers in the real estate business as such, right? Because there's a lot of data that's also produced that can be reused to create, let's say, a track record that you can't just delete or change through a database, but it's there. And people will see that. And then that track record is already kind of happening now with this initial small traction of real estate assets that is being brought on chain. But I think 10 years down the road, when we're going to look back, we're going to see that a lot of companies that started early are going to still be dominating that market, because it's a bit different market still than the traditional real estate side.
And I don't want to complicate things even further, but you just hit on an excellent thing, because the data is going to be on chain. It's going to be searchable. And we're investing right now into AI companies that are like sucking up a lot of the data for rent comps, for, country comps, for all kinds of things. And that's going to be super huge because people are going to have the ability to see, what the, particular markets are doing. And you're also going to be able to compare, well, this particular sponsor who was investing in, like, I invest in shopping centers and I invest in triple net properties, and we're just coming out with a hotel debt fund. And so it's like, do I have the experience, and also do I have the track record? And so, as you said, there's going to be a much better way to verify track record, because I can tell you right now, as somebody that's been in the real estate private equity business since 1990, a lot of track records are made up, or they're very selective. They're like mutual funds in the United States. They only take a certain discrete time, and they don't include like major drops. They're like, oh, this is just the past 3 years, but I don't include, 2008 when everything dropped out. So
Yeah, I think the world's going to change, obviously, with this, because it's inevitable. A lot of
right.
people ask me, and they, who's going to invest in tokenized real estate? And my answer is simple: everybody. Everybody's going to own tokenized real estate and tokenized assets in the end, because potential liquidity on the other side it makes it so that holding up cash becomes less and less important. And when you look at portfolios of billionaires, the cash part is very small compared to everything else. While when you go to a normal household, cash is the primary holdings that are in cash. And I think that kind of also creates a way of people keeping fairly liquid assets, not instantly liquid, but fairly liquid assets that yield. I think that's a major shift for younger generations as well, that are saving up, let's say, for 5-10 years to put a down payment on a mortgage house, but they can't because of inflation just keep up adding up, and then the down payment is never enough. So they need to, basically take either a worse mortgage deal or borrow from their parents, maybe if they have this chance, or maybe they don't have this privilege and they can't do it. So I think there's a lot to this tokenization thing, or a lot more than we have unfolded till now.
Yeah, and let's just drill down on a few things. So we'll make some distinctions. So tokenization, like we're talking about right now, is primarily tokenization of shares in investment real estate, or tokenization of shares. It's not tokenization of the title. So we just want to clarify that. The other thing is it could be tokenization of a real estate fund that owns, multiple assets, and multiple things. But the other thing I really want to key down on, which is what you hit perfectly, is if you're trying to save money, and you're in an area, especially I notice this, so I'm going to hit on inflation. There's more than, I think, close to, there's close to billions of people living in places where the money is bad, and so they're losing money just keeping their money in there. And so there's all kinds of areas in the world where they'll just buy an extra house to actually use that as a savings vehicle, because if they put their money in a bank, they lose like 50% of the value of their money. So for example, in Egypt, if they have extra money, they'll just buy extra houses because they know the real estate is there. And so what you just said is that people, and I'm going to go back to Slovenia again because it's, a perfect thing, or I'm going to go here to the United States. And I'm going to say kids in their 20s through 30s that are trying to save money. If they put it into a bank account right now, number one, there's a ton of banks that are collapsing in the United States right now. Allegedly, that'll be covered by the United States government. But number two, if they put it in a money center bank, like a Chase Bank or Bank of America, the interest rate that they'll get is like 0.5%, so are those people going to be able to figure out how to put their money into a treasury, bond and buy, treasury bills and stuff like that, or trade that? It's like, no, but what can I do? I can take, instead of putting my money into a bank account, I can put my money into a real estate token or tokens, and I can get yield anywhere from 6% on up to, like, the debt fund that we're coming out with, has a cash on cash yield of 12%, and it's exactly taking the bank's business plan, which is, what does the bank do? The bank takes the money from you and goes and lends it to people on real estate. And so you can take the bank out of the equation. You can put your money directly into the real estate and save your money that way. And then at the end of the day, you've got money to either buy a house of your own, or just continue on collecting properties and all kinds of other things. And let's go with the truly unique thing about real estate is that if you invest in the stock market or if you invest in crypto, you really don't get a tremendous amount of cash flow. Okay, only in certain stocks. And it actually, some of the stock market is, you can't get into if you're a non-US or a non-EU or a non-UK investor. So where can people go to get cash flow, and where can people go to get appreciation? They can do tokens created on Blocksquare. So with that, let's go into Ocean Point to talk about how that can go.
So Ocean Point, and you mentioned here, I'm going to touch upon something you said, buying real estate tokens. There's going to be different ways of how people invest in real estate, but I think in the future, all of the ways are going to have tokenization somewhere. So you're going to have products like direct investment into a specific token of a real estate asset or multiple.
Right.
Then you're going to have the option of investing into baskets that have already a pre-diversified array of various assets in different markets and with different strategies. Because if you imagine, like, real estate is it's the largest asset class, and it has so much diversity within itself. And creating a 100 million portfolio that has diversification is very hard. You can't do it because, if you go you're going to buy maybe 10 properties. It depends on the market. In some markets, it's just going to be 3. While with tokenization, that same fund can achieve a much more diversified portfolio by entering into real estate assets through the purchase of tokens instead. And so people are going to have the ability to kind of choose different products, and probably products that we haven't thought of yet are going to emerge out of this, And what we're seeing with or working with, you mentioned Ocean Point, is we see that secondary markets are going to be the key part when it comes to investing in real estate. And these markets will have different types of buyers. And Ocean Point essentially is an open-ended fund, if you will. But it's not structured as a fund due to regulatory confinements. It's basically a protocol that can buy and sell tokenized real estate. It can own an unlimited amount of tokenized real estate and can achieve diversification across many markets, across many assets. So the functionality for the end user is basically an instant sell and instant buy functionality, where they can enter into a deal instantly without waiting for some other participants to be selling, and the same way exit from an investment in an instant way without waiting for somebody else to come and buy. So it does promote liquidity and ultimately functions as a liquidity engine for the ecosystem of these Shopify's or online shops that gonna emerge with tokenized real estate in the next 5 to 10 years.
So for me to understand this, and also other people to understand, so is Ocean Point similar to like a stock exchange for real estate, or a crypto exchange for real estate? Or is it, you had mentioned it's also a fund? So can you explain how it works?
Sure. So imagine you wanting to buy a token, a real estate token, from somebody else on the secondary market. I'm buying from you. If you're not selling, I can't buy. If nobody's selling, I can't buy. But if there's a seller that is always willing to sell, like a protocol that has certain parameters in place, and it has some of the supply of that token, I can buy from that protocol. I just need to match the demand, the ask of that protocol. And that's what I can do with Ocean Point. I can buy from it and I can sell to it. And the protocol itself, how it pays for what I'm selling or what I'm buying, it accepts its own token. Okay. That is always giving me $1 value of the underlying asset tokens.
Okay.
Or always accepting that token at the $1 value. That's what it does.
So it's not only a marketplace, but it also has, similar to like a prime broker or a market maker, functionality to it.
Yes.
So that so what you're saying, because a lot of people don't understand what liquidity is, especially if you're in the real estate, because you don't care about liquidity except when you need money. But what it does is that if somebody wants to go in and buy part of the token, there's always, a token there for them to buy into the project. And if somebody wants to sell, hopefully there's, the market maker there that, you know, can not only trade that, but also find buyers, you know, for that, for distribution.
Exactly. It's a way for allowing people to buy and sell tokenized real estate without the markets being necessarily active at the time. So it's just another option on the market when you're buying or selling tokenized real estate, as opposed to the individuals and funds and others who are participating in that market.
Yeah, and so the really cool part of liquidity is that so, and people that have heard me and are sick of like my stories, but since 1990 we've done institutional real estate. Those deals are long deals. I've actually got one deal that we've been in since 1990, so it's 34 years. It's going strong, it's kicking ass, and you know, just a great property. But 34 years is a long time for some people to be in certain investments. So, but typically, even if we go into a normal deal, like a multifamily property or a shopping center, it's a minimum of 3 years and traditionally 5. And then when we get into a market like we're in right now, where things are kind of going screwy and sideways, you could be stuck in that deal that you thought you were going to be out of in 2023. You might not be able to get out of it until 2028 now, just because of, you know, where we're at in the market cycle. So with that, if they're in my paper shares deal, which is what we in the United States call a syndication, and you buy shares of, let's say, that shopping center, and you own your pro rata share of that shopping center, and you get your fund distributions and everything, you're at the mercy of me, the sponsor, as to when the liquidity event happens. So we either, the market is right where we can refinance the property and you get some or all of your money back, or we sell the property and you get, you know, all of your money back and hopefully a good return. But with the tokens, if you've got those shares and you need to have a liquidity event, you can potentially list them on Ocean Point and sell those shares to somebody else. Is that correct?
Essentially, correct. If you could definitely achieve what you're saying. You could, the sponsor could decide to tokenize, to say, okay, let's tokenize a certain portion of shares, right? And let's put them on the market to be able to get liquidity for our clients. It could be used as a liquidity tool for the original sponsor of the deal.
Yeah. So the really cool thing is, with Blocksquare and the full complement with Ocean Point, is you could have the entire life cycle of a deal, you know, on your platform.
Definitely. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't understand when they start looking into tokenized real estate is it's not an all or nothing type of thing. The way we tokenize real estate, it enables you to tokenize 10% of the value of a certain property, or 50 or 30. It's up to you to decide how will you structure the capital stack of the deal, how much equity you have, how much debt there is, and which parts you want to add that slice of tokenization to it to access a different market. And that way you can match supply and demand based on the current markets in Web3. If there's a lot of demand, you can increase the tokenized portion of your portfolio. And if there's not enough demand, you can keep it at the minimum, basically, and see where it goes. So it just becomes like an additional tool for real estate professionals to finance or refinance even the deals that they have in place.
Denis, I really appreciate this. We're going to start wrapping up now. And one of the really cool things, I know I've been, you know, because I want to go visit, you know, Slovenia. So that's why I keep bringing it up, because we've got one of our AI partners, and they're based over in Slovenia. So, you know,
All right. Nice.
And they said if I raised the money for them for their second round, I get a trip over there. So that's what we're working on. But anyway, tell us a little bit about your team, because you guys started out there. And as we
Yeah.
talked about, Slovenia is a really small country, and I got to be truthful with you. A lot of Americans, confuse Slovenia with Slovakia, and they have no idea, even where it is. And it's like, oh, I thought that was Poland. So anyway,
Yeah.
how do you build a team in, a smaller country? Because, you were just telling me, and I find it incredible. So why don't you talk a little bit about your team?
Yeah, it's challenging, I would say. But Slovenia has, I would say, a fairly well-educated population. A lot of people go to university and finish up. There's, however, as well, a lot of what they call brain drain, going to work, I don't know, to Switzerland, to the UK, to the US, and so forth, where obviously the economic situation or compensations can be much more lucrative. But on the same side, we started three co-founders from Ljubljana, and over time we grew into now a team of 35 people.
Nice.
And what we managed to create is an environment where we are fully remote. It's remote first, as we call it. Slack is our workspace. It's our office, the place where we gather every day. And basically, the only policy kind of we have is you need to have a good connection where you are.
Right.
And that's it. And to just state the availability when you are available, when you won't be available. So it's very flexible. And I see more and more people liking this approach. A lot of people choose to work only in this kind of environments because it gets them to be, I would say, more with their families, and at the same time work at something exciting, global, from wherever they are. So we hired people from Perth, Australia, to Las Vegas in the US. We have people from various European countries in our team. We have some people that are in the Middle East, predominantly Dubai. And so it's becoming quite a vibrant place to work at because it changes 24/7. There's something happening. So there's no stopping it, I would
Let me
say.
know when you're going
Yeah,
to Vegas or Dubai, because I can show you a good time in both cities. So, but
will do.
or Vegas. I've been going to Vegas every year to the shopping center convention since 1987. So, and
Yeah,
it's changed
all
a
right.
tremendous amount. They've also blown up a lot of hotels to build new hotels there. But anyway, what I really wanted to get out of that story, and you told it so eloquently, is that tokenization really is an international thing, because there's no borders with the technology, which is circling back to why you were interested in tokenization originally, is because just like Bitcoin and certain cryptocurrencies allow you to trade, value over long distances instantaneously, you now can trade real estate and exchange real estate or invest in real estate and it really doesn't matter where you're at as long as you have the information to make the decision on it. So that's, I think, is the amazing part. And it's, you talk about liquidity and all the rest of it. What was restricted to accredited investors in the United States or institutional investors are now going to be available to everybody worldwide.
Yeah, I think the importance here is we talk about investment a lot, right? Where people put money, and it doesn't seem so exciting when all you talk about is it's value, money, investment, right? It seems kind of boring. But one of the interesting parts, which fascinates me, a lot of times people ask, what's the end goal? What's for tokenization or Blocksquare. And um, in my view, it has a lot to do with bringing prosperity back to cities that don't get much attention from financial institutions. There's thousands of cities around the world that get a very small fraction of investment from the big banks, the pension funds, etc. Why? Because of liquidity. Because all those investors are concentrating their efforts where the other investors are. And if they concentrate there, it means that the money goes into London, it goes into New York, it goes into, and the other parts are left out. And we're talking about cities that are known, that cities where there's millions of people living, but they're not on that map. And I think with tokenization, we can bring liquidity to those markets, eventually getting the younger population to continue living there and finding that economic prosperity for their future generations to prosper there as well.
Oh, and investment. I mean, so if somebody invests in those cities, it brings, all kinds of ancillary investment to it. So it brings construction jobs. It brings, other types of things. It brings, you need places for people to shop. But what I really like in what you also hinted at is the fact that people could potentially invest in like something like Airbnbs, or I forget what they call it, short-term rental. And right now, there's short-term rental portfolios that you can invest in the United States, and they're kind of clunky because they're not tokenized. Me and you or somebody else could come on your platform, put together a short-term rental thing, and they could say, I got a short-term rental, one in Las Vegas, one in Dubai, one, and so not only can the token represent ownership in that portfolio, but you could also do extra stuff with the token so that they could get nights in those too. And so there's all kinds of different things. You can marry NFTs to it, but as you said, with the financing thing, maybe you're in an area where there's a low investment and people are only renting. So it's like, well, maybe somebody can take their apartment building, tokenize that, and so the renters could get actual equity, as they pay their rent there. And if they pay their rent on time, they get equity in the building. So they're not actually throwing their money away renting. They're putting their money into an investment. So,
or you can make it really, win-win situation with the owner, right? You can have the owner is renting it out, but it offers you to top up the rent on top if you are making more as you wish. You send it to a smart contract that calculates the equity you're getting for that extra thing. Next month, your rent is lower because you get some cash back in a way, right? And you live there for, 5 years, and you have a secondary market. You can sell those tokens, and the new tenant is basically doing the same. So they're buying tokens from the owner, from both the owner and the token, both owners basically, right, of the tokens. And so you get liquidity back, but you're diversifying your portfolio as you are staying in different cities, different places around the world. So I think all those models will become true eventually. And there's going to be obvious, some winners and losers in the market here. We're trying to help entrepreneurs that are seeking this kind of engagement or this edge on the market with the infrastructure that we provide.
Yeah, and as always with any new technology or anything, you can't move forward unless you have a few failures. You just got to fail fast and keep going. But I'm very thankful for the conversation we had today. It's eye-opening. I hope that people listening can see that there's much more smarter people that are going to hear this and say, those guys were talking about this, but I can take it in this direction. Exactly like what you just said. I would never ever consider letting somebody pay less one month more next month because, I'm from 1986 and I need a stable cash flow. But there's all kinds of other people that could figure that model out and make it work perfectly. So that's, stuff that just kind of blows my mind.
I think that's kind of the beauty of Web3 is that composability of different ideas and concepts, and just kind of being able to build together. There's this notion in Web3 where we all try to help each other,
Right.
because we all kind of feel that there's a lot of a lot of market that has not been reached yet, and just adding different benefits together in a collaborative way just brings more value to everybody in that kind of value chain.
Perfect.
Thank you, Michael, as well, for the invitation. I love the conversation.
Well,
And
Denis,
when is the real estate summit? Is
the
when?
real estate summit will be September 26th through the 28th, 2024. And Denis is one of our keynote speakers because he is, one of the pioneers in tokenization. Denis, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they contact you? So, and how do they actually, where do they find Blocksquare and where do they find Ocean Point?
So blocksquare.io or oceanpoint.fi, two domains. There they can get in touch with our team. If they want to get in touch with me directly, they can find me on, let's say, LinkedIn, send over a message, and we will connect through that. Otherwise, there's events sometimes I'm attending, or somebody from our team. Don't be shy, go and fetch us, and we'll get in touch.
Do you guys have any additional information on your website about, tokenization, if there was real estate, professionals that wanted to learn a little more?
I think I would currently direct them to our blog.
Okay.
There's quite a lot of content on our blog. We also do a bi-weekly show called Block Chat with Makram and myself. And we cover a lot of things revolving tokenization. There's episodes where we kind of focus a bit more on what Blocksquare is doing, and on the other side, what blockchain is doing in real estate and tokenization. So,
and where is
yeah.
Block? How can they find Block Chat?
Block Chat is on YouTube. Go to Blocksquare's YouTube channel.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of episodes there. I think we're now at 88 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Very nice. So they can find you at blocksquare.io. They can find you at oceanpoint.io, correct?
Oceanpoint.fi.
I'm sorry, oceanpoint.fi. And they can also find you on LinkedIn. And I misspoke. The Blockchain Real Estate Summit is September 24th through the 26th. Denis, I really appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to seeing you again in September, hopefully sooner if you get to Las Vegas.
And if you get to Ljubljana, that's also possible.
All right. We're definitely working on trying to get there this year. So
perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, hosted by the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. Don't forget to sign up for the Blockchain Real Estate Summit 2024, happening this September 24th through 26th, online for our worldwide audience. Get your tickets at blockchainrealestatesummit.com/registration. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to follow the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback really helps increase the visibility of our show, allowing us to reach more listeners like you. If you have someone in mind you would like us to interview, you can go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com and leave a comment.
Hi, this is Adam Carswell, the voice of Liberty. This podcast is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to provide tax, legal, investment, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, accounting, or investment advisors before engaging in any transaction or undertaking. Thank you for listening to the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, which is a part of the Blockchain Real Estate Summit Network. Go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com for more information, free reports, and giveaways with free stuff. Thank you.